Good night, help with us. And God is good and God is good all the time. My name is Simon Jazz Fizzer. I'm here to give y'all a little short news and a word on tonight. Now, I have an update with Israel war. Two hostages was released, by Hamas, American Israel citizens. They both are receiving the necessary medical treatment. So the two he had released on Friday. They get medical attention. Because they've been in there for a couple of weeks now. So thank God Hammond had released the two American hostages on Friday. Now this all I will say on this issue, so we're going to thank God again, you know. Ain't nothing but God and touch his heart to let two out. He letting them live out at a time, but at least he letting them out. Um, so I do have another update with Louisiana map. Supreme Court want to restart a Louisiana Congress map rejoin. The map passed now, so the map had passed. The Republican-controlled legislation is currently blocked, by federal districts. So the federal had blocked the map, and the judge ruling which sided with a group of black voters, racial justice organization, claimed that the design violated the Voting Rights Act. So federal block it. They claim it violates Voting Rights Act. So the Supreme Court denied the two emergency requests to restart the redrawing of the Louisiana Congress map. Now, the process that was likely to add a second majority black district. Now, legislature would not consider, such a map while looking over the map is pending. So it's pending right now. So they can't do nothing else with it. So they claim it violates Voting Rights Act. So that's why federal had blocked it. So we see that the Louisiana legislature overruled Democrat government had passed a map, including one majority black country district. But we see also, but we also see that the federal district ruled to block the map, saying it violated, Voting Rights Act. The map district is passed, but federal block it, saying it violates, voting Voting Rights Act. So we need this map district, to pass. If not, we will have to wait 2 years, later for 2026, to try to start all over again, trying to redraw a map. So we need this issue done before the end of this year. So uh, I pretty much another update. The government speaker. Okay, so we understand that you still have not voted for a government speaker. So we need a speaker soon. To make decisions. To pay bills. Multiple issues needs to be resolved. So what about Hakeem Jeffrey? Do he want to be the next government speaker? So we got to hire someone temporary until y'all can find someone at your church who you think is reliable to be a government speaker. You can either hire Hakeem temporary till you find someone. Y'all have to find someone that's suitable for y'all. But in the meantime, we need somebody temporary. We got to get somebody in there. You got the shutdown. You got the shutdown. They're coming up soon. So we got to deal with that. We still dealing with the Israel no war. So we need the speaker to handle these different issues that's going on right now. So that this was a church. But since he already experienced already speaking, So that was the church there. I understand y'all have, 16, 17 more churches to go to. You got to start going through it. You have to start going through. Okay, we have so much issues going on, and it needs to be resolved, soon as possible. So that's all the short news I have for you. But I do have a word. Trials and tribulation. The way things going this year, it may seem like I'm talking every time you look around, there's storms, there's trials. But what we going through this year, we need all the tools we can get, to get through a whole lot of tough times. So this is going to come from James chapter 1, 1 through 18. So James, a servant of God and of the Lord Jesus Christ, to the 12 tribes scattered among the nation. So the writers of this letter, a leader of the church in Jerusalem, was named James. And now James is the half brother of Jesus. Now his earthly mother, Mary, she had other children after Jesus left. So this not the James that was his disciples. This is his half brother James. So not James the apostle. But this was one of the earliest New Testament, letters probably written before. So after Stephen, prosecuted, you remember I talked about that. That was in Paul. When we first met Paul, he had witnessed his friend got prosecuted, got killed right in front of him. So that's the reason why he wanted to kill the Israelite. He thought they had something to do with it. So the Christian in Jerusalem was scattered throughout the Roman world. So there were Jewish Christians, communicating, you know, community in Rome. Because these early believers did not have the support of an establishment and organization of a Christian church. So that's why Peter had to go, Peter had to go down there. James had to go down there, and he had to get everything established for them, organize the church. Now, James wrote to them as a concerned leader to encourage them in their faith during these difficult times. Okay, so consider it prayer and joy, and brothers and sisters, whatever you face, trials of many kinds. And I see this James had wrote this letter to the leaders of the church. He's saying joy spring, from a deep sense of well, being that can consist with the full range of human emotion. So sorrow, happiness, anger, pain, joy, bond. Out of our trouble is more of an attitude or a decision than a feeling. Now we can choose, to live with joy while not denying our normal emotion. Now what he's saying, when you're in your trials, you in that storm, whatever the case is, James said you got to go through it with joy. You got to face your trials with joy. And I know that's hard for a lot of us to do, but we got to find peace in some kind of way. I know I do. I have my ups and downs, but a lot of time, I just stop what I'm doing, and I start praying. I start listening to my music. You got to find your joy in some kind of way. If not, it will overtake you. So not denying our normal emotion, but God's faithfulness teaches us to respond to all of life. Circumstances with joy. I know that's hard. That's all. I'm still in this stuff. And it's difficult. Every now and then I have to try to find my joy some kind of way. Start reading scriptures. So it helped. I play my gospel music. It helped us to be grateful in all circumstances and delight in a goodness of God's joy that bring when we realize that nothing will be able to separate us from the love of God. That is in Christ Jesus alone. So because that the testing of your faith produce perseverance. Now we heard Peter. Peter used to always tell us that. He used to always say, it's gonna take patience. It's gonna take patience. Because God gonna do things on his own time, on his own divine time. Look how he rescued the Israelite, but it took 430 years. And then when he did rescue them, it was like everything was right on time. So uh testing of your faith produce perseverance. When God is testing your faith, a lot of time it's gonna take servants, it's gonna take patience. So James doesn't say if you face trials, but whatever you face them, he assumed that we will have trials and that we can profit from them. And James saying we should not pretend to be happy when we face pain. And all of us do that. All of us do that. We go through so much. So when you enter the world, a lot of time, not all of us, but a lot of us, in our trial, we pretend. Some people pretend like they're happy to make it through. So that's what Paul said. Do not pretend to be happy when we face our pain and trial. He wants us to try to make ourselves be happy. You know, don't pretend to be happy because sometimes it's hard. You go through that pain, and a lot of times, when you around people, you got to make sure you happy or you look suitable or whatever, because if not, somebody say, "What's the matter? What's the matter?" And you don't want to explain and tell people your whole detail of what's wrong, so let perseverance finish its work, so that you may mature and complete and not lacking nothing. So now see what James saying. Your perseverance was finished. It worked. So whatever you start, don't stop because of the trials. Keep on moving forward. That's just how I am. No matter what's going on in my life, I still press my way through. I don't stop. I have to really, really feel bad or sick for me to stop. And then I catch up the next day. But other than that, I pretty much work every day and keep it moving. And so that's what James saying. So we can't really know the strength of our character until we see how we react under pressure. And see, that's what God do. God be testing our faith. He be testing when that pressure come at you. When that pressure come at us, what we will do. How we work under pressure. That's what James said. How we work on the church, So know the strength of our character until we don't know. Until we see how we react under pressure. So we may find that being kind, to others is easier when everything is going well, but will we still be kind when others treat us unfairly? That's a good question. If someone treats you unfairly, will you still be nice and kind to them? So let me tell you what Jesus said. Yes, you still have to be nice to people just mean and rude and they treat you unfairly. So that's what James said. And you remember Jesus said it multiple times. If somebody betrayed you, did you wrong, forgive them. They do it again, forgive them. He said you got to keep on forgiving them. People treat you unfairly. Speak to them, they may not say nothing. But then they come around again and talk to you and speak. You got to speak to them anyway. So that's what James saying. Will you still be nice and kind to someone that treats you unfairly? So God wants to develop us into a complete human brain. Not simply, not simply to insulate us from our pain. So God not gonna exit us from pain. We got to feel it, you know. So endure through trials, generate a whole person seasoned, experience, well developed, and fully trained. Now it gives us the life, the skills to see our potential. You know, see our blind spot. You know, so the mistakes, before we make them, if you're spiritual, you could kind of see things before you jump into it. So instead of complaining about our struggles, we should see them as an opportunity to grow, you know. And I'm talking to myself too. We have to stop complaining. And just like they say, we have to look at it as an opportunity of growth. When you make a mistake, you have to look at that mistake as growth. I done grown a whole lot in my stomach. You might not see like it to somebody else. I have. You grow from your mistake. You grow and you look at it as an opportunity to turn things around. So we have to ask God for wisdom to help us solve our problem, or to give us the strength to endure them. When you get overwhelmed, and you end in the storm, all you can do is ask God to give you strength. Ask God to protect you. Ask God to give you strength, the knowledge, the discernment, anything that you might need. So strength to endure them. Now we in myself have to be patient. I'm in that patient mode right now. God will not leave. God will not leave us. You know, He will not leave us, alone with our problem. He will stay close and help us grow. We have to think. We have to thank Him for walking beside us. You in rough times. We got to thank God. I thank God for walking with me through all this hard time. So completing, not lacking nothing. If any of you lack wisdom, you should ask God, to give, generous, to all without finding fault. And it will be given to you. By wisdom, James means the ability to make wise decisions in difficult circumstances. Now, this is not just a knowledge. Whatever we need, wisdom, we can pray to God and He will generously supply what we need. Christian, don't have a grip around, hoping for answers. We can ask God wisdom to guide our churches. Now God always answers these prayers when we ask Him. So believers in humble circumstances ought to take pride in a high position. So Jesus and his brother James were likely poor, for their entire life. But Jesus had spent part of his childhood as a virtue in Egypt. But the rich man, should take pride in their humiliation since they will pass away like wildflowers. Now, James explained that for the rich man, their faith is in God. You know, demonstrating, demonstrating, show us, demonstrate our view that the rich Christian should take pride in their humiliation in this life, should not see their money as an evidence that they are significant in any way. So when you have all that money, God wants you to look at the money as evidence. You know, He wants you to look at the money and still look at the money and see it look like God. You have to thank God. Thank God for the money. Thank God for the job. Thank God for how whatever had made you rich. So the sun raises, for heat and whether the plant, it blossomed just the same way. The rich man will fade away, even while they go through about their business. So rich had to manage, accumulate material possession, but blessed is the one who persevered under trials because heaven has stood the life that the Lord had promised, to those who he loved. So they're saying who preserved under trial. The main thing, I used to always say, move this out my way. Move this out the way. God's not gonna move it out the way until he felt like it, it should be moved out the way. Because he wants to see how you're gonna react under pressure. He's not gonna remove the obstacles out the way. That just like say the blessed is the one who perseveres under trials. He want to see how you're gonna act under trials. So because having stood the test, see, it's all about a test. That the person will receive the crown of life that the Lord had promised to those who love him. So you got to be under that trial. You got to be under that trial. Ain't no way around it. You have to be under that trial. Because a lot of time God is testing our faith. Saying the same way the victory well, was given to the winner, and God blessed those who were patient and endure adversary for his sake with the crown of life. Stay faithful to God, under pressure. Now that's the thing here. When you in your trials, you overwhelmed, you pressure, you have to still be faithful to God. Meaning you still got to pray, you still got to worship him, you still got to do the thing. Excuse me. Do the thing, you're going through all this hard time. Everything you're going through, you still got to be faithful to God. Faithful to God. So don't be deceived, my dear brothers and sisters. James said that we are to seek God for wisdom. Now, we are also to seek God for all good gift. So we are not to be deceived. Every good and perfect gift is from above. Coming down from the Father of heavenly lights. Now, who does not change like shifting shadow. Now, Father of light, praying to God, Lord as the creator of the stars and other objects. Now he chose to give us birth, through the word of truth, that we might be a kind of first fruit of all the creation. Now in the exercise of his will, he brought us forward by the word of truth, so that we will be kind, a first fruit among his creation. So this is the tools of trials and tribulation. James had wrote a letter. James wrote a letter and letting them know when you in your trials, and tribulation, he wants to have patience. He don't want to complain. He wants to have patience and go through it. And while you're going through your trials, the hard time, he want to see how you're going to react under pressure. I'm reacting all kind of ways, under pressure because I'm still standing. It's hard time, and God test your faith. He gonna see how you react under pressure. So we also talk about the news updates. The Supreme Court in Louisiana, the Democrat, they passed a map, but the federal blocked it, saying it was violating voting rights act. So we also had talked about update for the Israel war. So there were two hostages that released by Hamas, American of Israel citizen, and they both are receiving the necessary medical treatment. So we're going to thank God to have Hezbollah had released the 2 American hostages. So we also talk about government speaker. They still have not voted for a government speaker. So we need the speaker. We need a government speaker now, soon as possible, because we need a speaker soon to make decisions, to pay the bills, multiple issues needs to be resolved, you know, uh, and I suggested Hakeem Jeffrey, suggest him, so I know you have several more people of your own church, but we need someone soon as possible. So that's all the news and the word I have for y'all tonight. And y'all have a blessed night, and I see y'all on the next video.